please make sure you type your name and your team name in the below question box for proof of attendance, okay? And please make sure as well, every team members from your team to enter their names in there so that we know who is watching the stream right now. Okay, and also, if you have any questions throughout the sessions, please use the question box as well to raise your questions accordingly. Okay, and we will make sure we will address your questions in our later Q&A sessions. All right, so let's get started. So before we go into why we're doing this hackathon and what kind of activities we have, please allow me to give you a quick introduction on what Data Asia is all about. Data Asia has stand for Digital and Technology Accelerations. Is a one of its kind virtual event in the Southeast Asia region where we bring all the digital solution providers together into this market, into this event, and showcase their solutions to the market. And my name is Patrick, and I'm part of the event organizing committee for Data Asia. So there are a few activities that will be happening throughout this event here. Number one we have is we so-called the Reflect Pillar. When we say Reflect Pillar, this is essentially a single track conference sessions where we have keynote speakers coming from Exabytes, from New Pages, from NetApp, and etc. All the various leaders in the digital solution industry for them to come forward and share their perspective and insights about digital transformation. And hereby, we also would like to welcome all of you to join the event and join the conference if you're more about their perspective and insights about digital transformation. On the second activities that we have in this virtual event is we call it the React Pillar, where this is where our actual virtual expo will be happening, where we have all the digital solution providers coming in together and showcasing their solutions in our virtual environment. And in this case, for all the participants here, you would also actually get a booth for each team where all your videos and artwork will be showcasing there as well to our audiences in this event. Lastly is our Renew Pillar, which is this virtual hackathon, Data Asia Virtual Hackathon. So again, welcome everyone to this Data Asia Virtual Hackathon briefing today. And later in the later session, we'll go through more in details on how this hackathon works and what is required from you to tackle the challenges. Now, before we move on to the next segment, I would like to share the theme of this hackathon this year. So our theme this year is revolving around the retail industry. As we all know, I would say the entire world is being hit by the COVID-19 pandemic. And among all the industries, retail industry is the one that get impacted the most. And which is why this hackathon is revolving around how data can help to revive the retail industry and of course boost the nation's economy. So fellow entrepreneurs, we are inviting you here to share your talents and crack one of the following challenges if possible. Number one, besides embarking onto e-commerce, how can retailers boost sales by leveraging digital technologies? Similarly, how can retailers reduce costs by leveraging digital technologies? Lastly, which is related to operations, how can digital technologies drive operation efficiencies for retailers? Again, your solutions is not required to tackle all three problem statements. However, it should be relating to at least one of them for this hackathon. Now, before we start the next segment, just want to give you a reminder again. If you have any questions throughout these sessions, you can always leave your questions in the question box down below, and then we will address those questions in our later Q&A sessions. All right. So to begin our next segment, we actually have invited Jason Low to come onto these briefing sessions. So he is a partner and a director from a digital consultancy firm where he did a lot of helping a lot of companies to embark onto digital transformation journeys and bringing many of the companies online. Some of the portfolios under his belt, he has served various Fortune 500 companies, and also many big press SMEs across the industries. So let's welcome Jason Low to these briefing sessions and for him to share his insights. Hi, Jason.
Hey, thanks, Patrick. Hi, very good morning, guys. Welcome to today's morning's virtual hackathon briefing session. So I am Jason, currently the founder and CEO of Virtual Tech Frontier. And yeah, let me just give a brief introduction again to what I've been working on and things I've been doing for the past 5 years. So the past 5 years, I've been running multiple digital businesses across the industry for various MNCs, SMEs, government, state governments, and things like that. I was also involved in the Alibaba Netpreneur program, where I was sent by MDEC to actually Hangzhou itself for about 10 days or so. And that was when I met and was connected with all kinds of retailers in the industry. And that's how I started to really dive into the industry that the market has and what kind of technology that people are actually looking at when they are looking for digital transformation. I also actually had my digital transformation series on BFM 89.9. If you go into the BFM website and click on like Jason Low Digital Transformation, things like that, you can still hear about the topics I discuss with the various hosts in BFM. And also I host the Go Digital Jason Low Show on Spotify and also Anchor. Lastly, I'm also Asita Young CEO Program graduate, and generally I just help businesses to go digital, which has been a very crucial topic for the past year actually. The amount of questions that you get on how do I bring my business online is very different before COVID and even after COVID. And there are a lot of new issues that have popped up within the retail industry, and that is where we are trying to tackle the problems as mentioned by Patrick earlier on. So as we all know, Patrick has brought up that the retail industry has been greatly affected, and it is typically not something solved by just bringing them online, right? Retail industry is heavily affected due to like a lot of things, like the MCO, like a lot of SOPs that is prohibiting people to go to the retail, to the malls, and this has caused a lot of issues in terms of like footfall, sales, and the government has not been too clear about what they are trying to deal with it. They're just telling all the retailers and SMEs, we got to go digital, we got to do all kinds of things. And even though it is not as badly affected as, let's say, the travel and the tourism industry, yet we are still facing different kinds of challenges that they are looking for. So before MCO per se, when I talk to a lot of retailers, they talk a lot about how do we go online, how do we actually do e-commerce and things like that. And that is generally made when you still have a lot of traffic going to retailers. So retailers are still actually looking for a different revenue and different channel to actually make money and things like that. But when we come down to MCO, retailers are then questioning what are they supposed to do with their retail outlet. And those will be the list of problems that I will talk about later. And as we all know, yesterday's cases has been like record high. We're looking at cases nearing the numbers of 4,500, I think. And this is odd because, as we all know, the government has not really prohibited people to go into malls yet. We still can literally go to malls and things like that. So it comes down to like these kind of jokes which has been on trend in Facebook yesterday. People are asking, can they still go to malls to exercise? Can they still do various things besides dining in? And this creates a lot of not only controversy, but a lot of contradictions with how people are actually dealing with this situation over here. So in the end, for the past year alone, I have interviewed and talked to a lot of retailers, even from various agencies and associations. One of my most interesting conversations was with the GM of MRCA. So MRCA stands for the Malaysian Retail Chain Association, and they are basically the association that not to say governs, but they are a private entity that actually supports and helps retailers nationwide to see what they can do, to see what they can assist for the retailers, and they will also connect retailers to the government for various support if needed. So one of the few interesting findings that I found out when I have been interviewing with people in MRCA and my retail friend owners are something like, so for example, sales to retail outlet itself. Sometimes it's not as, again, as mentioned earlier on, it's not as straightforward as can we open up a new sales channel digitally? Are we able to sell various different things in another manner? For retailers, one of the most crucial and important thing that we're looking at is the fact that retail owners or brand owners, they have already actually paid rent, paid deposit. They already managed to build an entire team within the retail outlet. So all these costs, including like renovation costs, the operational costs, it's not something that they can just pick up and just, oh, let's just do online sales these days. They can't even suddenly close the retail outlet due to like tenancy agreements. And their core problem has always been, so what can we do with that retail outlet right now? When I was in Alibaba back in China, we were actually given multiple tours to visit all kinds of retail outlets in Alibaba itself. And not only that, because, so in Alibaba, beside Alibaba, we actually have a mall, kind of affiliated and owned by them. And in that mall, we can see how retailers really do O2O kind of initiatives right there. How they're using it as not only a place to sell things physically, but also how they enable warehousing management in their outlet. They're doing live streaming in their outlet. They're doing all kinds of sales processes and just using that retail space as a kind of physical location to fulfill operations and fulfillments and things like that. So in terms of retailers and brand owners, sometimes it's not as straightforward as let's just go sell on Shopee and Lazada, or let's just sell on your brand.com and things like that. It's always how do you recover back ROI for that particular retail outlet by itself, right? So let's go to next. All right, the next thing that we are looking at is operations. Retailers always have challenges whenever you propose new solutions to them. Be it you're a new startup, or you're even a reputable tech company that is helping retailers, even something as straightforward as changing a POS system. POS system is, what it means here is the points of sale system that retailers will use to just take in cash. So these days we have a lot of companies that produces POS systems that can do all kinds of integrations, and the issue will come when that particular technology cannot fit in well with how the SOPs of a company is running. So if suddenly we tell them, oh, to implement new technology, even though it's automated to a certain extent, we are still looking at issues that might come by if certain SOPs have to be changed to remodel it, right? So we got to really take note on how retailers can actually manage, implement, and integrate various new SOPs into their whole ecosystem if a certain technology is introduced. The next topic that retailers will always come and complain about to you whenever you come and bring in new technology will be the talents in their business per se. Because most of their business, let's say if a retailer or a brand is not too huge per se, that would mean that most of their staff is actually working on-ground stuff. So then they will come to you and they ask, do I need to hire new people to work on certain technology? Do I need to get a specialist that can deal with a certain system? Because if you're talking about really large ERPs or enterprise-based solutions, like something like SAP and things like that, you do know that your typical admin team or your typical IT team in your retail can't cater to that kind of very complicated technology. And the business owners will then think twice. They might really like your solution, but when it comes to, when you implement something in, do I have someone to deal with it? Do I have a relevant talent that knows what to do? Even something as straightforward sometimes as managing a Facebook page, it becomes an issue to them. They're like, nobody's creating content, nobody's using the Facebook to do digital marketing and things like that. So talent is always a core issue that retailers might face when it comes down to technology implementation over here. The next point I'd like to bring up is definitely system integrations. When you move on to more matured retailers per se, which, so most of my partners that I got onto this hackathon, they are actually quite mature retailers. At a combined scale, most of our retail partners that we will actually choose to pilot the winner solution has over 100 over outlets combined, literally nationwide. We're not only talking about someone who owns an outlet in a mall. We're talking about companies that have like 20, 30, 50 retail outlets nationwide. And more mature SMEs or retailers like this, they actually have a lot of legacy systems in place. It can be a certain kind of accounting system, a certain kind of POS system, a certain kind of cloud database system that they then require various new integrations to connect everything together. Let's say if you are creating or proposing a solution that is within customer data centric, and then they might have a pre-existing CRM ready, they might have a local server ready, and then the data will be everywhere. And the last thing they want, again, is hire another talent to deal with another silo-based system that does not integrate and bode well with most of the solutions that are already in their business, right? So system integrations is key. Can it link to the legacy systems? Does it have an API? What do you need? Do you need an IoT-based SDK to connect, get data, things like that? So this is a very common recurring question that the retailers will actually ask, right? And lastly, only then you'll fall to cost. Because these days, post-MCO, okay, not post-MCO, during MCO 3.0, post the entire COVID season, most retailers know that they have to change. Most retailers know that they have to set aside a certain budget to deal with this kind of digitalization efforts. How can we actually utilize different new technology to help the businesses? So budget usually might not be too much of concern. Most of the time, it only comes after we solve the first 4 questions or first 4 problems that's being shown over here. And then only they'll see whether something is relevant for them to implement or not. A myth, not really myth, but a common issue or news that people do not know too much is that people feel that, oh, my solutions are expensive. Traditional retailers and SMEs are not willing to invest into it. But we're talking about investment. Look for a typical retail outlet, right? If they are in a mall and their rental cost is huge, their renovation cost is huge, just to kickstart a retail business in a reputable mall, we're putting about $500,000 to $1 million minimum. So retailers are out there with certain kind of budgets, of course. And if your solution is only charging like a few thousand a month, it's a SaaS kind of solution, and you get recurring revenue model for the whole year. It might not even be 50,000. I'm not too sure about that. But retailers do have the funds to actually implement most of this kind of solution. It's just how can we calculate and decide on the ROI for that, right? So the next 5 topics that I would like to elaborate on really come on what can we do, or what kind of angles that we can develop certain solutions to enable the ROI value to be very prominent to them, and to allow them to really accept this solution as something that can really benefit their business. So these are the topical 5 pillars of digital transformation. When I go out to give my training, when I give my talks, I will frequently talk about. And I find this to be very relevant towards any type of hackathon ideas that might be implemented towards this competition, right? The first one will always be for customers. So for customers per se, retailers are looking for a new way to get customers. If you're proposing anything digital, it can always be something that you can attract people online, grow their user database, find ways to actually pull in new angles of data without affecting too much on going to a retail outlet to do it, right? Because what the retailers are waiting for, even though they know that people are not coming into malls, coming to the outlets for shopping and things like that, and even if also a retailer is not ready to go online, what I usually would tell them, or what usually the associations or government agencies would tell them, is that find ways to collect your database right now, find ways to collect more data from your users, and then just you got to stand by, tahan, grind it out until the situation gets better, and then only you see how we can implement a new strategy to capture the market then, right? So anything that involves acquiring data for customers, acquiring a pool of targeted segmented users that can benefit that retailer will always be welcome. The next will be on competition. These days it's not too prevalent because previously a lot of retailers will ask about, so how can your solution increase more sales and drive customers into my outlet instead of a competitor's? And these days, because everyone can't challenge directly on a physical retail space, they're looking to, very similar with the first point, gather fans, gather a new customer base through other methods, either through social media, through their website, even through Shopee and Lazada per se, platforms that they do not own, but they still able to a certain extent get certain kind of data. They can get followers, and then through the followers, we can actually do certain kinds of marketing, various other strategies to reroute back them into their database and things like that. And this will definitely give an edge against them for competitors, and not only in terms of customers, but also probably sometimes in terms of pricing strategies, what kind of items are they selling, are they even in trend enough to stock up in trend items, and how do you always stay a step ahead of your competition. The third pillar, which is the most common things that retailers or even traditional SMEs are looking on, will be innovation. So in this sense, innovation is actually very broad, right? Anything that can be improved via technology, we even call it innovation. A lot of people, they are not even on Facebook. You'll be surprised by the amount of businesses and SMEs, they're not even on Facebook yet because of a simple fact that they do not have someone to manage their Facebook page. Or they will have a Facebook page and they don't have a graphic designer to actually design something for them. It can be this kind of reasons per se, and when they finally do get onto social media, they feel like, whoa, totally innovated my company. This is great. Finally, I'm reaching out to the big audience out there. Then you realize that without proper digital marketing strategies, they can't do it anyway. So it can be something as straightforward as that, because a lot of startups or companies per se, they like to go and propose maybe CCTV, IoT, footfall, facial recognition tracking, something like that. Or let's track how many males and females came into your store. Then you know what kind of demographic to sell to them. Which shelves has more touch points. You know, when you talk about something so high-tech like that, very huge retailers might get it. The management team that understands IoT or this kind of technology will probably really get it. But if we're talking about smaller scale companies that don't even know social media properly, don't even know e-commerce properly, this might be a challenge, right? So I would like to say sometimes keep things very simple and straightforward enough to implement, so that it's not only executable to a particular retailer, but we can also scale this solution when we need to, right? So next point. All right, so we are then looking at value. A lot of retailers, to stand apart from the competition. So previously, like how when I implemented certain technologies for them, we're talking about value over here. What does value mean directly will be sometimes for, okay, the best example that I can provide will be for F&B outlets during MCO. How F&Bs are utilizing GrabFood, Foodpanda to actually still get the items delivered and enable sales anyway, even though they still run a physical operation area. So the kitchen, of course, still produces the menu. You have your chef still working, even though they can't hire all the waiters anymore, but at least it keeps the business afloat, right? Even though our local food delivery players are charging quite a hefty amount in terms of the margins and commissions, but at least it is still a way the F&B companies can utilize this. And that is indeed one form of value-adding service. So other forms of value-adding services will sometimes be in the customer service sector. How can certain people test certain items? You know how those e-commerce companies are allowing people to try something, money-back guarantee, no question asked, these kind of services. So in terms of value, hacking how technology can increase value for retailers, this is still something very not explored too much. People are figuring a lot of other things, but definitely not really within this sector over here. All right, so we can give a thought about it. And lastly would be, of course, on data. if you do not have any sort of technology implementation in place, then it will be always safe to say you do not really have a good data abstraction in place. When you don't have data, right, we can make decisions. Actually, a lot of retailers know the importance of data. They know that with data, they can make decisions. They know with data that only certain things can move. What item to buy next? What are the trends now? And a lot of them are actually still using like Microsoft Excel, and they're literally only Microsoft Excel just for accounting purposes. How do you do their bookkeeping? And then they just trace and they formulate everything in Excel by itself. Sometimes it's something as straightforward as we just take whatever they have in Excel and transform the whole process flow onto online. So most of the time we are not lacking in the availability of solutions out there, but it's how can these retailers or SMEs per se understand what they need. Does it fit into their situation? Does it solve the various problems that was outlaid earlier on? And whether can we provide enough value within these 5 pillars to actually provide enough of a solution that we can pitch it in, right? So all I can say is my network of retail partner and retail partner friends, they are really looking for new solutions and strategies to really hike up their sales, how to stay afloat, keep their cash flow running, gather new customer base, grind it all out before things get better again and things like that, right? So with this, actually this is the end, last point of my slide. So I would like to wish everyone good luck and hope that we are able to work together and come up with certain solutions that can definitely revitalize the industry, maybe not really to now, but in the near future when things open up and better again, right? So yeah, let's get back to Patrick with this.
All right. So thank you, Jason, for your sharing and again taking up your time to join us this morning here. Let me just open up the floor for a Q&A sessions from the participants here. So we do have a few questions already coming in. Let me just read off on the first question that we got here first. So number one, one of our participants asks, how is e-commerce today is competing with the retail industries? Are they cannibalizing it?
So this is it's actually a very good question, but it's also a very important question because when we talk about e-commerce, right, the first things that the news out there want you to know, it's, oh, e-commerce market share going up. E-commerce is really conquering, reducing retail sales and things like that. But if we look at trends in China, for say, like Alibaba itself, when I was in China, they are actually indirectly expanding really huge in retail. They have their own retail chain called the Hema retail chain, right? And this kind of retail chain only existed after the digital e-commerce platform is up. So if e-commerce is really that strong, why are huge tech companies, even US like Amazon, extensively expanding the retail presence all across the world? Because these two are very different segments. You will still always cater to a huge crowd that would like to go to retail to do shopping, the physical touch, and you will also have a huge crowd that would like to go online. So the answer for retailers is typically, if you want to go huge, you want to go big, you want to scale bigger, it's always good to have both sides. You are very strong in retail and you are very strong in e-commerce. However, the current situation per se is not really about why retailers or brands don't want to put all our effort on online yet. This is because to how traditional businesses, the supply chain model has run, right? They've already ordered stocks enough for their retail outlets nationwide. Their nationwide retailers have tenancy agreements with malls. They've already hired all kinds of retail support staff. So for a business or retail per se, you already have a huge amount of costs that is stuck within the store. And e-commerce just is not used to directly recover the costs for the store per se. You have renovation costs that comes up to $500,000 to $1 million to $3 million, millions in renovation, staff that you permanently hired, 4, 5, 10 of them, that comes to hundreds of thousands a year. So for a business per se, it's good to go all out. For a brand to say, it's good to go all out. All channels just appear. Can even export or what, just do it. But in terms of the retail issue itself, it's more on the investment cost that the brand has invested into the retail sector and how we need new solutions to help huge brands and retailers out there to recover this part of the ROI.
Okay, we do have a second questions coming in. This is around how are the retailers today are competing with e-commerce today? I mean, it's very similar questions, but I think it's asked in a very different perspective. How are they managing it?
So in terms of competing, actually the term competing, it was still very prevalent for the, let's say about at least 2 to 3 years ago when I was in the industry and we were working on e-commerce. You hear retailers still giving quite a number of negative remarks to it because a lot of things they feel that they're online, they're just throwing price, they're just slashing prices, right? And people feel that, oh, if everything keeps selling so cheap, how's my retail going to survive? So you have a lot of retailers that have all these kind of negative connotations to it. However, these days we're talking about, or even when COVID-19 hit, the whole MCO happened, retailers don't really think that they have to compete with e-commerce anymore. Almost literally any brand you can find in any retail outlet, you can kind of find it online. Even huge malls in Malaysia are selling online. You have your One Utama, you have AirAsia trying to sell everything online. Everyone's trying to sell everything online because they still have to keep the revenue flowing during this period of time, right? So in terms of trend, retailers do not see too much e-commerce as a competitive threat, but it's more on what can they do in their store itself that can still generate sales. So for example, if talking about cosmetic and beauty companies, they allow free trials, samples, skin testing, the scent, stuff like this is still very important. Fashion industry, the clothes, even electrical industry, the display screen, this blender loud or not the sound. There are still certain things that only retail outlets is able to provide, right? So a lot of companies these days would like to keep experiences to be still within the retail outlet, and they will actually go up online and try to do their stores to sell certain things online while still maintaining a certain amount of services. Because a lot of time when Malaysia just started and we're talking about e-commerces online, a lot of them are private sellers. They're not huge retailers, they're not huge companies that went online, right? And the initial phase is a lot of bad services come from this. Damaged items, if something spoiled, warranty how. So retailers still have the edge in that, in which they still have that physical location to actually deal with value-added services like such.
Okay, we have another questions coming in because during the sessions just now, Jason, you did mention about there are actually many solutions, ready solutions out there, but perhaps I think the question is what else can we do, and why do most of these retailers are not adopting these solutions? What is your take on this?
If we link back to my earlier slide on the challenges that retailers face per se, it actually can come from many ways, right? You do not have one single retailer out there that shares the common problem. The common problem or the common direction that they're going to is we need digitalization. We need to implement technology. But each retailer would actually have their own issue on how it's going to be implemented. If we are talking about a large retailer, a billion ringgit retailer, they have different reasons why they are not implementing certain solutions. The larger the retailer is, would usually mean they have a lot of systems in place actually, but most of the systems are very legacy based. Means they're older, they're not modern enough, a lot of features are not in. So to replace an entire solution sometimes can take months, literally, with all the stakeholders. You were talking about retailers with at least 500 staffs nationwide. So how do we coordinate that? So sometimes it's very dependent on SOP and operational issues on actually integrating a certain solution, unless we're coming up with, however, so I think that's also one of the purpose of the hackathon. like, oh, if a solution is so hard to implement, how can we have new strategies that does not involve like nationwide stakeholders per se, right? We will never know yet how this can be done. So SOP operations is one, system integrations is one. Costs rarely happen unless you're really, okay, companies that will really come to you for cost issues are really small companies. Or maybe sometimes as straightforward as this company just expanded 10 retail outlets. They spent 10 million on renovation, literally no money, right? So definitely that's not what they are looking to implement right now. And we can probably know and understand these when you look at them. So operations, legacy systems, how do we implement the training, the talent, if your solution is completed enough that whatever their current task force don't know how to use, they will start already. The first thing in their mind is the boss know how to use. The boss wants to use, but my people do not use. The talent how? So when Shopee and Lazada came in, and a lot of retailers actually approached us to go in and set up an e-commerce store for them. They literally have no one that knows how to use Shopee's backend system, Lazada's backend system. And when you're in, you just realize it's not something as straightforward as using the system. You need to use their marketing tools. Can you analyze the data? So suddenly everyone don't know what they're doing. And then they have to hire e-commerce operations team, someone with e-commerce experience, someone that used to be from Lazada, someone that used to be from Shopee. Only then, you can see things moving. Because no retailers or even SMEs per se want to invest in a solution. Even though it's free, you see Shopee and Lazada is free. Open new channels to you. Millions of visitors. Good for you, right? But still, nobody's doing it because they do not have the team of people that has to run it. And if you think you just hire one person to run the entire Shopee, wrong also, because it's so complicated, right? So talent might also be an issue. So can we have this kind of operational methods that, this system or this flow or procedure, the idea can be simple enough that would even enable probably the current workforce to utilize it. Or if not, usually what I have to do for them is they'll get me to interview a digital team that can even use these solutions. So long story short, even though if a solution is free, businesses will still not go and implement it yet if they do not have the culture and the people ready to work on these kind of things. So to summarize this question easily, and why this answer is so long, because no one retailer has the same problem. But they generally, when you hear, it will jump within one of these issues here and there.
Okay, interesting. So just to give a quick summary on what Jason has mentioned, I guess there are many challenges are being faced by retailers today, and of course the challenges could be varied by industry, as Jason has pointed out. And although there are so many ready solutions out there, but fundamentally there are challenges faced by retailers that really prevent them from adopting some of these new solutions, which is why this hackathon is important for us to really understand what are kind of challenges are faced by the retailers, right, in a larger sense, and then see how can digital solutions can scale and really help them. We have another interesting question that actually came in. Just you mentioned quite a lot of the big names, Alibaba, Amazon. These are some of the big players. How about the SMEs? What kind of take do you have on them, or I guess the challenges you have on them?
Sorry, can you repeat that, Patrick? The challenges what?
The question is revolving around SMEs for the smaller guys. What prevent them from adopting digital solutions or etc. The SMEs.
The SMEs, right? It's a bit related to the previous question. I think that I answered. Like different sizes of industries would have different kind of challenges and operations. But in terms of the talent and the operational stuff to deal with it, it's the same one. You can have a huge retailer with 500 staffs. They don't have a team that knows how to use Shopee. You also can have SME if you need 10 staff who also don't know how to use Shopee. And their issue is always, again, how do I find this person? how do I hire this person to run something like this? And this is in the context of even if the solution is even free. So a lot of retailers or SMEs might want to adopt something even easier if another person is running certain things for them. So you have solutions out there that what we call automated. So a lot of retailers would love when they hear something like that, or you just need someone to download the report, let something auto run. That's why a few of the IoT-based tracking systems in malls, because you don't need their staff to go in and fix all the CCTVs, for example, or camera tracking systems will say the company or the startup has to go in and do it. And then the data will be generated, and then maybe the data will be sent to the sales manager. So suddenly the sales manager only have to look at the report to decide on things, like how certain zones in the retail outlet is a better hotspot, for example, right? So this is one of the ways not only big or small companies have to deal with, but all companies throughout sizes have to deal with. Do we have the operational manpower to do it, right? Because can you the idea is sound, the idea is great, it's always good, but to implement it inside the organization, no matter how small the SME, no matter how big the retailers, you always face this problem, like talents. Then you come to cost, because nowadays there are a lot of models, a lot of systems out there. They like to do profit sharing model. They like to do SaaS subscription-based model, very low cost. Cost is generally not too much of an issue, unless you're literally trying to sell something way beyond market rate and way beyond your competitors. A good fact when you pitch to retailers also is that it's never good to think they don't know anything. You'll be surprised by the amount of people that goes into pitch to them on a daily basis. Like last time I used to represent quite a number of retailers to deal with technology integration, digital transformation. Ooh, one week I can have 10 people come pitch to me their solutions on. All different, but you see different salespeople coming in and talk to me as if like I don't know anything. And that will really undermine a lot of things actually per se. Yeah, so in terms of awareness of certain technology, I believe it's always there. They are always on the lookout for it. That's not too much of an issue also. But can we find a way to actually solve operational issues, implementation issues, automation issues, no matter how big or small? There'll be a very good focus to look at actually.
Okay, we do have one last questions coming in before we end this Q&A session. This question is revolving around what is the scope of this hackathon in this case. I think just now you did mention about the challenges from each of the retailers can be different, but based on your observations, I'm pretty sure, are there any trends, let's say in the fashion industries or in the F&B industries, the trends of the challenges that you foresee the retailers are facing? I mean, it could be different across industries, but do you see certain trend in this case rather than we are saying everyone need a bespoke solutions?
With COVID-19 in place, with MCO in place, this is not too technology related, but more on the business side of things, is tenants, property owners, mall owners are not willing to reduce rent, forgo rent. Retailers with permanent staff can't simply let go of their employees due to Employment Acts. So one thing that will definitely be draining for the retailers will be the cost to maintain their operations in malls or even in shop lots per se, right? Until they have to close down. So this goes down to the business issue, how they can make more money just to deal with the survival of their retail outlet. And this is not, again, I mentioned earlier in my presentation, it's not something like, let's just go online and sell things. Because the agreement is there, everything's in place. They still have to find ways to actually generate revenue and utilize that outlet good enough. So certain companies that I've seen, what they're doing is, so these again are smaller companies. The large scale retail outlets I haven't seen yet, but for smaller companies like, was it Ninjas? But it's a well-known phone accessory retail chain. They are starting to do live streaming literally in the outlet. So they literally just try to clear stock from their retail outlet, and they reduce like warehouse rental space wherever there is. So this is a trend that China has been doing ever since 2 years ago when I was in Alibaba per se. They literally use their retail outlet as an outlet for warehousing, stock keeping, and of course they have systems in place to even track this. Because if you suddenly go and propose this to a big retail outlet, right? Their system is connected to their POS system. So any sales generated online, how can they also bypass their POS system to reduce the inventory count and the inventory stock? So all these kind of issues will be definitely in place. But long story short, just to summarize, they still have to keep their outlet alive because of various agreements set in place due to properties. So again, how can we generate maybe massive footfall after MCO 3.0 is lifted? Actually, nothing much to live, all right? We can actually still now go to malls and shop. It's just whether are people doing it or not. Last time when I was serving a huge furniture retailer, what they did is that they did a system online to capture data and interest of users, and they immediately, after they collect the whole database, they will remind them to come to the outlet to try the furniture and get special discounts. And sometimes when we talk about this might sound like a digital marketing strategy, but it is indeed something that people do not do often because they don't see this as a permanent strategy or product. So how this retailer even had to do it, they had to open a Google form to create an activation to put in data to their database. And if everything is Google form, it ends there. It is just a submission form, right? So what can be done beyond that after they get the data that can be used to drive more traffic to retail to do certain things might be one of the options to look at, right? So it's, for example.
Okay. All right. So thank you, Jason, for joining us this morning. We will again conclude this section for now. So again, thank you, Jason, for taking out the time. It's really glad to hear from you. Thank you very much.
Okay, thanks. Good luck, guys. All the best. Bye.
All right, thank you. All right, so again, thank you. If you have more questions for Jason's, please feel free to drop us an email. We can definitely revert your questions to him regarding for you to learn more about the challenges that's coming from the retail industry. But before we move on to the next briefing sessions, let me just remind everyone again, please make sure that every of the team members to type in your name and your team name in the below question box for proof of attendance. Okay. So just now during the Q&A session, we do see quite a few questions regarding about the scope of this hackathon. So again, understanding that the scope is pretty big, or I would say is pretty generic for this hackathon here. So it is really up to you to scope it down and see where is the opportunity is and etc. And how you can scale within that industry. Again, the word retail industry is a pretty huge word, and it does involve quite a few, I would say, industries. For example, we may have fashions, we may have F&B, we may have basic IT retail chain, or any other related retail industries. So essentially, the scope, understanding that is big, but it's really up to you for your creativity and proposal. Which industry do you think you want to tackle, and also really understand how your solutions help that specific industry in this case, for example, fashion or IT in this case. And just now we spoke a lot about going online is simply not it's not a simple solution, right? So it is really about how to keep the retailers to be able to survive physically. I think this is the whole core of the hackathon here, using digital technologies. What else can they do, right? And in this case, even post-COVID, can these technologies still stay there? We're talking about an O2O strategies here, and what kind of solutions we can have it out there. And maybe there are quite a few of bespoke solutions out there that are doing such ideas that you may have. But why are they not scaling big enough today? What are they facing today? What kind of challenges are they facing today as well? So those are the things that we are looking forward to hear a proposal and solutions from you, so that we can bring your solutions to our retail partners and experiment it in the real life. Okay, so moving forward, we would like to go through how Data Asia Hackathon actually works. So again, welcome everyone to today's sessions. This is the launch and opening of the Hackathon briefing and mentoring. And essentially what's going to happen in the next 2 weeks is we will need you and your team to really brainstorm and come up with a video pitch, and then this video will be launched for social media contest. The purpose of the social media contest is to, number one, is to really share your idea publicly. There's no idea that is so unique that you should keep it, I would say, confidential, because we know that we have seen many ideas before. So the whole point of this social media contest is to show your idea to the public and capture feedback. The whole point is to hear for you to go into the market, whether it is your competitors or your potential customers, to hear feedback from them, to see how you can further refine your business models. So for you to continue to proceed to semi-finals, we only ask a simple request. You will need to garner at least a minimum of 50 votes to proceed to semi-finals. If all of you can garner 50 votes to your video pitch, you can proceed. Now, of course, you can bring your friends and family, come and like the video. By all means, please do. But however, the more you share your ideas to relevant experts or people in the industry, the more you will learn and the more you will know more about the market and the industry, and then you can further refine. And once you go into the semi-finals, we will have a second round of online voting, where this is now during our Data Asia event, where our audiences will be giving you likes if they think your idea is interesting. Again, our audiences will be most people or SMEs coming from various industries, from fashion, from agriculture, from tech industry, and etc. And what's more noting is during the semi-finals, we'll have a few VCs firms will be coming and give and watch your video and give scoring. So this is critical. If you are looking for some investment to scale, this is the moment that you really want to make sure that your solutions that you present or you propose is realistic and is attractive for the investors to invest in you in this case. And on the finals, what's going to happen is we will actually select 3 teams based on the VC scores to go on to the finals live demo presentations. Now again, one of the criteria to go into the live demo to go into a final is you do need to have a live demo ready or MVP ready, a minimal viable prototype. So it has a simple solutions or websites or app or software that you may have ready, that you can really do demo to the judges and also to the overall audience as well. So this is one of the key requirements to enter the finals. So which is also why this hackathon is lasting for almost 1 month, because we do want to make sure that whatever they are proposed, you have the time to actually develop it and you can show it during the finals. In terms of the pitching video, a few things that you should cover in the pitching video. These are some of the recommendations that we are providing to you. 6 areas. Number 1 is problem statement. Describe the market challenges and elaborate on why there's a market need for your solution, right? Again, understand the questions of hackathon is very broad. It's up to you to scope it down and propose which market you want to tackle, right? For example, you might say, okay, my solution is perfect for fashion industries, for people who sell clothes or sell shoes. Then, okay, how would that help this specific industry and how big is this market, right? Second is about your digital solutions. Describe how your solution can solve these challenges, right? Third is about business model, how you plan to monetize your product or services, and develop sustainable business, right? Just now, Jason did mention a few business models that's already out there. It's either a SaaS model, go on a monthly subscription basis, or it could be go on project basis where you do end-to-end implementation, or it could be I don't know, maybe there could be more interesting business model that you can come up with, right? Fourth is about growth strategies, right? Again, there could be many solutions out there that could be available already, but there are probably pitfalls, and there's a reason why these players couldn't scale, right? So the whole point is, how can you scale, right? Knowing these are the challenges, right? How can we scale and revive and help the retail industries so that we can really pick up the pace as we compare with the US or China in this case. So what kind of growth strategies that you can put in place to really scale within the target markets that you want to tackle on and grow in that market segment. Fifth is about competitors landscape. Research your competitors, show how much you know about your competitors and what is your USP, unique selling point, to as you compare with your peers. And lastly, of course, give the audience and also the VCs in this case on your 1-year financial projection, and explain the funding requirements that you need to kickstart for this idea or this project that you have for the first 3 months. Please make sure you explain what you need, how much you need, and etc. And if you are an established company already, please feel free to indicate your historical financial figures as well, if available. Okay. And just a reminder again, if you have any questions throughout these briefing sessions, please make sure you input your questions into the question box down below. Towards the end, we'll have another Q&A sessions to address your questions. Okay, a few tips that we want to share when you prepare your video pitch is, number one, plan your video storyboard and make sure your video is easy to follow and fun to watch, right? Of course, we are not asking you to create a promotional video that is require perhaps a professional videographer or crew to produce for you. But of course, if you have such talent in your team, that will be awesome. But if you don't, you can simply just do a PowerPoint presentation stream to stream and showcase your ideas. It can be done that way as well. Second is on, if you are doing any video voiceover, make sure your voice is clear for the audience to listen. Okay, I will say this will related to the third tips that I want to mention is, make sure you rewatch your video multiple times before you submit to ensure quality output. So make sure people can hear you clearly, right, on your ideas, on your proposal, on your solutions. And also at the same time, your slides are easy to read and easy for you to transpire the message across. These are very key important tips when you want to make the video. And in terms of submissions, how can you submit? So if you are already logging into this portal, you will see that on the top of the tabs over there, there's a submission tab. You can click the submission tab and then fill up your team's name and your email, and then attach your video in an MP4 format up to 10 minutes duration. If your file size is larger than 128 megabyte, please feel free to share the link, either a Google Drive link or OneDrive link, so that we can download the video from you and upload it accordingly for the social media contest. Now, one thing to note is this is only one submission per team, and the video should be submitted by the team leader, or I would say in this case, when you register, by the primary contact person. And the deadline for submission is actually on the May 19, 2021 at 9 a.m. Now, you probably have noticed our social media contest is actually starting on the 11th until 19th. So if you do, if you submit the video late, that means you won't be able to garner enough votes to go into semifinal. So again, please make sure you try to submit early, but we do accept submissions until May 19th, as long as you can garner enough votes, okay? And another thing to note as well, to go into semifinals, in your booth itself, there will be the video will be showcased on your booth as well. So if you do get quite a few feedback from the people that you talk to, or the potential customers, or some of the network that you can reach out, please feel free to submit a new video if it is required. Okay, for the semifinals, if you receive garnered enough votes of 50 votes to proceed in the semifinals, if you need to update your video, please feel free to do so, because for the semifinals, the VCs will be coming in and watch the video and judge based on the pitch that you are providing to the event. Okay. And regarding on how the social media contest work is, once the video is being submitted, it will be uploaded to the website dataasia.biz/hackathon. It will be open up for the public to log into the event microsite for voting. So right now the rule is set is one email address is eligible for one vote. Now, of course, in this case, we have to say, please do not cheat and you go create 50 email address and go log and vote for yourself. The whole point of the social media contest, again, is not about for you to get into the semifinals. It's about for you to share your pitch to the relevant network from your network, so or even to the potential customers, so that they can really understand your solutions, and then they can give you feedback, right? And then you can refine your business model. You can refine your solutions from there. And of course, while we're doing this contest, you should be working on your MVP already, because regardless whether you win this contest or not, right? If your solutions is gonna be super beneficial, or has the value it has, right? We highly recommend you to continue work on the projects and embark onto the entrepreneurship journey and become a successful entrepreneur. So please do not treat this hackathon as just a small pet peeve project. You should always treat it as something that you want to work on for a long period of time, and which is why we are really pushing you to really work on your MVP to make sure you test it in the market. In terms of the semi-finals, again, just to reiterate, you will be you can use back the same pitch video as you submitted, or you can give us a new one after you confirm you going to the semi-finals, resubmit your video. And at the same time, there will be also 3 promotional visuals that you can upload to the booth as well, and also 1 logo branding if you have a logo for your business. I would say in this case, if you don't have a logo, you can just put your team names up, it's fine. And then we also have a live chat function here as well, where you can just give us your WhatsApp number or your Telegram accounts. We will integrate it into your booth. And then this is where, if the VCs are really interested in your idea, even though you may not get selected into the finals, you can also continue the conversation with the VCs through the live chat, or continue conversation after the Data Asia event. We do encourage networking and make sure that you really get your ideas out there and get all the awareness you can, so that you can start your project successfully in this case. Okay, and also at the same time, there will be visitors and audiences coming to your booth as well and view your solutions at the same time. Okay, so again, your potential customers could be walking around during the event and really looking for your solutions. So you might even able to strike your first customer during the event. So please make sure you put more efforts into the video pitching and also to your promotional visuals. has probably, maybe even before finals, you probably have your first client already. Okay. Lastly, to show you who are the judges for the semi-final. So currently we have 5 VCs coming on board. So we have the Alpha JWS Ventures, Capti Ventures, Ingenious, True One Capital Partners, and also 1337 Ventures. So all these 5 VCs, they will be coming in during the week of May 24th to 29, where they'll come in and watch a video pitch and then and score accordingly based on the information that you provided. And in this case, of course, the scoring will be accounted to see who will get selected into finals. But again, many of these VCs are actually still have funds to invest in startups in the seed funding or even in Series A. So they, even though you, let's say in this case, if you do not get selected into finals, maybe you didn't make the cut. That doesn't mean that you wouldn't get invested from them. They may drop their name card to you. They may reach out to you to explore potential opportunities. So make sure you really grab this opportunity to really showcase a solution to them, so that you are able to secure whatever you need to kickstart the project. Okay, for the judges for a final, will be there'll be representative from our distinguished guests from Virtual Tech Frontier, from SimWorld, and also from Exabytes. So these are the guys that will be funding the hackathon winner to really bring them to our retail partners and experiment the prototypes. Okay. In terms of the some of our retailers that we have, so these are the retail partners that you can, if you win this hackathon, you get to test a solution with, in this case, TBM or TMT, Ventry, Mistreat, etc. So we do have a few more retail partners coming on board, as they are super excited to hear your proposal, to see what kind of solutions are out there. So we will definitely bring in our network and make sure all our retail partners have a chance to really test the solutions with the hackathon winner. Okay, lastly, on top of the networking opportunities with the retail partners, explore a potential collaboration and test of solutions, there'll be additional prizes up for grab as well for the winner. So number one is on the work from home essential sets worth up to 6,000 ringgit. And then also at the same time, if your company is not registered yet, we do have a company incorporation package that's worth up to 2,000 ringgit for you to incorporate your Sandrian Berhats. And then also at the same time, there will be another digital marketing package that's worth up to 1,000 ringgit for you to utilize and run your ads or campaigns, or execute your growth strategies. Lastly, also there will be a 1,000 ringgit worth of server hosting from Exabyte as well, in this case, for you to host your solutions. Okay, so this is the end of the briefing. Now we would like to open for the Q&A sessions again. So let's see if there's questions coming up. Okay, so we have one question. What do we do in semi-final at the virtual booth? Are there any presentations? So to reiterate one more time, during the event Data Asia, when you are on to the semi-finals on the virtual booth, you are not, of course, you are not required to present live. That means you are not required to man the booth. But your video pitch, or I would say your latest video, will be on the booth, and of course with 3 promotional visuals that you want to put up. So those will be the only materials that the VCs and also the audiences will hear and see from you. So please make sure, if you do get into the semifinals, please make sure that you put more efforts into these areas, so that you can attract enough people to give you the likes that you need, and also attract the VCs to give you the scores that you need to proceed into the finals. Okay. Any other questions? Let's see. Okay, for finals, how do we do our presentation and show our MVP? Okay, so you probably are looking at this stage right now. So essentially, during the finals, you'll be our organizing team will be coordinate with you to log into a Zoom call, and then you will be presenting on the stage like what we are doing it now today. So on a side-by-side basis, you will be showing your face on the left-hand side of the stage, and then you will have your screen share on the right-hand side of the stage. So again, if you want to show your MVP, etc., you have to, just like how you operate a normal Zoom, you can screen share to your PPT or your video or your demo accordingly using the screen share. And then for the finals, which we'll give out more information later, but if you do get into the finals, you will be given 15 minutes to present, and then 5 minutes Q&A from the judges. Okay, any other questions? Okay, for the video submission, do we need to show our face? I will say this is up to you, whether you want to show your face or not. There's no strict rules of whether you should do it with your face on the video. Like I said, it can be a simple PowerPoint walkthrough with voiceover that will work by itself already. But the point is, you have to decide yourself whether that's easy to follow, whether that will be interesting for as a pitch itself for people to continue to watch and understand more. Again, our video pitch, of course, is up to 10 minutes. You are not required to do it up to 10 minutes, but just make sure within your video, you can cover the 6 elements that we need you to cover. And also at the same time, able to answer the questions that you potentially may get from the audiences as well, or from the potential clients. Yeah. Okay. Any other questions? Okay, seems like there's no more questions coming in. Now, before we close this briefing, I just want to say you can always email us. I believe there have been there are already email communications to your email address regarding joining this briefing, etc. You can always reply back on the same email if you have any further questions about this hackathon. We are super excited to see all of you on board to join this hackathon, and we are very excited to hear your creative ideas and proposal for our retail partners. So good luck to your submissions, and we're looking forward to hear more from all of you. Thank you very much.